Caught between Liberia and America, I learned that resilience, not perfect belonging, defines my cultural identity. As a Liberian-born Black cisgender woman, my sense of self has been shaped by constant movement, cultural tension, and faith in something greater than myself. The wheel of privilege and identity reminds me that identity is layered. Some parts offer access, while other parts present barriers. My journey reflects how these dimensions intersect through my cultural, gender, and resilience. My story is not polished or simple, but if you've ever tried to pitch a tent with a pole in the middle of a storm, that would be my cultural identity in a nutshell. Coming to America at 9 exposed me to new cultures, but also new kinds of exclusion. I remember standing in the middle of New York airport, wide-eyed and amazed at the roar of the crowd, the moving stairs I would later learn were called escalators, and the sight of my first clear people, or as I now know, white people. I had arrived in the land of milk and honey, the brave and the free. From New York, my family moved through Boston, Maryland, Texas, Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and finally settled in Fargo, North Dakota, where many Liberians have also settled. I thought finding my people would mean belonging, but instead I wasn't Liberian enough and was rejected. Half my life had been shaped by Lunchable, PBS Kids, and even a bit of Spanish I picked up from watching Dora the Explorer. To me, I was living the American dream, the American childhood dream. But to the Liberian community, I was just a watered down, clear person. The irony was that I could cook our food, speak 2 of our dialects better than most, and excel in school exceptionally. Yet somehow, I was the one who wasn't enough. On the American side of things, I was too African, with the accent as proof back then. For years, I lived in a state of belonging everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Over time, I realized I wasn't meant to fit neatly anywhere. Instead, I could create my own sense of belonging, embrace both cultural without an apology. Liberian traditions of food, family, and faith anchors me as I move across the USA. A famous Liberian parable says, "The family tree can bend, but it doesn't break." That belief shaped my understanding of relationships and community. Saturdays were for church, followed by food that filled the table and laughter that filled the house. Birthdays, graduation, and even funerals were marked by gatherings that remind us how community could still feel like home, even though we were miles and miles away from Liberia. As much as I love those values, my boldness often clashed with my desire to question the unfair treatment I received from elders and the abuse I saw around me growing up. You see, in the Liberian culture, questioning an elder was seen as disrespectful. When I was 12, I challenged one of my aunts on her lack of manners, as it was expected of me to cook, clean, and take care of her kids since they were visiting for a whole week. That day, I finally had enough because there was no please or thank you following the task I had completed. Her response to being questioned was a slap across my face. Even with the red mark as proof, she denied the assault when my parents came home. That moment taught me that standing up for myself would not always be easy, and I would not always be accepted because of my need to stand up for myself. That moment also strengthened my voice. I wasn't rebellious. I was simply learning to balance respect for my roots with independence I was gaining in America. An assault during my pregnancy tested that strength in unimaginable ways. In 2018, while pregnant, I was attacked by then my child's father, a nightmare from hell. The experience stripped away the intimacy and joy I once associated with pregnancy. Some members of my community got wind of the assault and judged me and mocked me and my child. Yet and still, my family had my back and few friends stood by me. Their support again reminded me that even when the family tree bends, it does not break. I survived that chapter not just going through faith, but through resilience that had always been a part of me. Years later, my green card renewal was delayed during the COVID-19 backlog, and overnight I lost the ability to work, drive, or renew my ID. Within months, everything I had worked hard for unraveled before me. Eviction notices arrived, and I had to choose between gas, food, and storage fee. It felt as if the universe had pulled a rug from under me. It felt as if I had been put on pause on the shelf. Still, resilience would not let me stay down. Through these experiences, I've come to understand that resilience is my cultural inheritance that holds my identity together. Being Liberian born, a Black woman, and a cisgender woman are not just category of the wheel of privilege and identity. They are layers that shape how I move through the world. Each brings its own mix of privileges and barrier. Together, they taught me that belonging is not about perfection, but persistence. My identity may be messy and raw, but it's real and it's resilient, just ties it all together. It is the heartbeat of my cultural identity. Resilience, I am. That is my cultural identity essay I wrote. I got 150 points on that essay. Great essay, right? And this essay really had us look at the wheel of privilege. The wheel of privilege is a ladder to success and what each type of success comes with. And when I was writing this essay, I was just reflecting on my life, and I wanted it to be raw because writing is where I'm able to speak and be heard. So this essay was just something I wanted to share with you guys because we are so many things at once, right? We are multi-dimensional beings. I am. That said, your identity is going to change due to certain things and environment. However, it is formed. It is your due diligence to yourself to always advocate for yourself, right? To make it a journey to really know who you are, because if you don't know who you are, the world will try to tell you who you are. So that said, what is your cultural identity? What makes you you? Bliss Virginia out.